This is your Monty moment. I'm Johnny Montalbano. As we get you set for another big college football weekend. Of course, it's a little bit of a somber one here as we start the Monty moment honoring the victims of the Virginia shooting over the weekend. Just a terrible story out there in Virginia, and our hearts are out to them. I mean, you've seen the outpouring of support from rival Virginia Tech and really all of the college football and the college community there. Their three their three college uh, players on the team were shot and killed over the weekend. Just hard to even put into words. And obviously, the news that come out earlier on Wednesday that Virginia did cancel their game, their final home game of the season, this upcoming Saturday against Coastal Carolina. Remains to be seen if they will play out the string here and finish up against Virginia Tech. But obviously, football not a thing right now for them. Obviously, they got to cope and deal with just a terrible tragedy and loss of not only three of their own football players but three of their own students. Really, it's really just more. It's more than just football. It's just a community in grieving there. So our thoughts and our prayers are with them as we do this Monty moment here over there at Virginia. But you know what? The college football does roll on here, and we'll be thinking about them. Obviously, they were supposed to play against Coastal Carolina. That game obviously got canceled. We'll see, as I said, if they finish out the string. But I'm sure everybody in the college football world and really the college world and really the world in general will be thinking about them as we roll down the stretch of this college football season, which still has a lot of implications when you look at the games this upcoming weekend. You look at the latest college football playoff rankings, not really much of a change, not much of a change at the top four. Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, 1 through 4, and then really it comes down to still who has a chance. Tennessee at number 5, still up there. LSU at 6th, USC at 7th. A little bit of controversy there if LSU should be higher than USC. Look, I mean, I'm not going to look much into that. I mean, when you look at the playoff ranking right now, we know there's only going to be one Big Ten school in there. It's either going to be Ohio State or Michigan. They're both not going to get in. TCU really right now, when you look at it, they've got a big game this weekend against Baylor. They've had some quality wins, but they got another good test coming up this weekend, so they're not out of it. Tennessee's going to need some help here. They're going to need maybe an upset as well because right now they're not playing in the SEC championship game. So right now they're going to need an upset. And LSU still has a chance as a 2-loss team, and that's really what you have to watch it too. You can make the case that a 2-loss team is going to get into the college football playoff this year. They still have a shot, and USC also still up there as well. One of the takeaways from last week, real quick, was that the Pac-12, which had as many as 3 teams possibly still with a shot, is now down to 1 after Oregon got upset by Washington. We did pick Washington plus the points. They ended up winning that game outright in a classic last week. So right now, you look at it, it was originally USC, Oregon, maybe Utah even, and UCLA. Well, right now USC is the last Pac-12 hope, and I actually thought they had the better resume of all the other teams. You look at it, their only loss going into this week, I should say, was a 1-point loss at Utah. They got a good challenging test at the Rose Bowl on Saturday night, so maybe we'll get some clarity. We're actually going to pick 3 teams that are in the top 7 in our picks this week: Alabama, Clemson, and Utah rounding at the top 10. But that doesn't really mean much because those 3 teams not going to matter right now when you look at the playoff picture. But we're going to pick 3 of those top 7 teams in our picks this week, and we're going to try and run another hot stretch here because we were 3-0 last week with in our picks, so we're back over 500 for the season at 18-16. And let's see what we can do. These are going to be a couple of nail-biter games that I'm going to pick this week. Ones that maybe you wouldn't think you would touch, but I just have a very sneaky suspicion about them. And this is going to have a very important implication in terms of the college football playoff. So that's what we're going to do here because that's what we should do with just a few weeks to go in the season. So game number 1, we're going to start right at noon Eastern, and I'm going to go with 4th-ranked TCU in their matchup against Baylor at 12 p.m. And TCU, when you look at it, they've been answering every challenge this year, whether it's been on the road, whether it's been home against ranked Big 12 teams. And last week they were an underdog on the road against Kansas, and the defense rose up, won 17-10. So they just don't make enough mistakes. It's one of the best in the country at limiting penalties. It's only turned the ball over 7 times, and their offensive versatility really allows them to adapt to the game flow. And, that might be that is their biggest strength when you look at it. It has a way of finding a way to come through when it needs to maintain control. But this week it goes up against a Baylor squad that's defense is the 2nd best in the Big 12, and that TCU offense hasn't really, which is really that good, it's the best in the conference, but they haven't played a defense like a Baylor squad. So we will see what it does here. But this Baylor defense has the ability to take the ball away in bunches. It came up with 8 takeaways um, in the 2 games before their stunning 31-3 loss to Kansas State. And the key for them, for Baylor in this one, they have to control the clock. You know, TCU was able to get by Texas by dominating the time possession, but it's not going to be able to do it against Baylor. But like I said, TCU has answered every challenge this year, and I only have to lay less than a field goal, and I think they're going to do it again here. It might be ugly, it might not be pretty, that might be something that the playoff committee looks at, because that's the thing you look at now in this terms of the playoff committee. And not only is it the way it's not only that you win, but it's the way you win. But I think TCU is going to find a way to get it done here, so I'm going to take TCU minus the 2.5 in game number 1. Game number 2, a local game down here in South Carolina, as number 5 Tennessee, whose playoff implications are on the line here. They go to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks at 7 p.m. Eastern. And, you know, when you look at South Carolina this year, Spencer Rattler, the transfer quarterback, was supposed to come over here. He was supposed to really take South Carolina a next step forward, and he hasn't done that. He's got just 8 passing touchdowns against 9 interceptions this year, and he has still yet to eclipse 2,000 yards throwing the ball this season. And when you look at Tennessee, I mean, we don't have to really, you know, go into detail about Tennessee. You know about them by now, but they have put up points at a premium this year, and the Gamecocks, they've just struggled in SEC play. You know, I know South Carolina's a 6-win team, but their 4 losses are against SEC teams. Last week they were not in it against Florida. They were blitzkrieged by Georgia. I mean, I know everybody's been blitzkrieged pretty much by Georgia this year, but earlier on in the season they were destroyed by Georgia at home, and I think more of the same is going to happen here. You look at, as I said, you know, you look at Tennessee this year. They put up 40, 50, sometimes even 60 points, no problem. I think it's going to be fine here. And I know this is a big number, and I haven't usually done that this year, laying a huge number. I know Tennessee's laying 22, but that, to me, that's good enough, because I think they're gonna roll in this game and keep their playoff hopes alive. And even though it's on the road, it's not going to matter. So to me, Tennessee minus 22 is the play here in game number 2 on Saturday. And game number 3, Pac-12 at the Rose Bowl, 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox. If you like a little evening Gus Johnson action, you're going to get it here, because it's going to be Gus and Joel, and along with Allison Williams over there on Fox, as 7th-ranked USC, trying to keep their college football playoff hopes alive, take on number 16 UCLA at the Rose Bowl. And this matchup, UCLA comes in, the Bruins do, with the better defense, but USC's got the better offense, and that's despite the fact they lost Travis Dye earlier on. It did take USC a while when you look at their last matchup against Colorado. It took them a little while to get things going, but once they did, they were fine. And it'll be interesting to see what they could do now, losing Travis Dye. But you look at Caleb Williams; he's done a very, very good job this year. Another guy that's been discussed in the Heisman Trophy conversation when you look at it, but this is going to be a good test for him, because this UCLA pass rush and their coverage, they've been very, very good, almost elite level. That's the level I would put it at. But it might limit Caleb Williams in this game. But again, I'm only laying 2.5 points here with UCLA, and I know that their only loss did come on the road very, very narrowly against Utah earlier in the season. But I think USC is going to do just enough here to get this done. Again, you're going to be sweating a lot. It's going to be a little late night action. You may not get a lot of sleep after all this, but I'm going to go with the USC laying the 2.5 here to keep their college playoff hopes alive as well. So 3 picks, 3 road favorites with a big college football playoff implication on the line. Number 4, TCU laying 2.5 on the road against Baylor. Number 5, Tennessee laying 22 on the road over South Carolina. And at the Rose Bowl, 7th-ranked USC minus 2.5 over 16th-ranked UCLA. And again, big college football playoff implications on the line, and we'll see what happens here as we have just a few more to go. You know, we're three rankings down. We've got 3 more to go before we get ourselves to the big games, to the big bowl games at the end of the year. And for more, like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameOnETB. You can follow me on Twitter at Montalbano NY, and also follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ETB Network. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know when we're going to be on next. Of course, next week's going to be Thanksgiving, so our schedule is going to be a little bit different next week. So just follow us across our social media channels and hit that subscribe and that notification bell so you know when we're going to be on next week. That's for sure. So, again, this has been a Monty Moment College Football Edition. Enjoy the games, everybody. I'm Johnny Montalbano.